senze nina, senze nina, senze nina, senze nina.
What have we done? What have we done to deserve this? These words describe the feelings of students in the 1970s who sang them during their protests against the racially biased laws of apartheid in South Africa. Now that the era of apartheid is over, John Biase shares his experience during those protests with Jesse Harbour, a high school student from Johannesburg.
People, are sort of assisting to each other.
Jesse is one of 6 high school students in Johannesburg, invited to join forces with 6 high school students in California as part of an oral history project organized by California educators from 3 of the state's top universities. These 12 students collaborated as part of a cross-cultural exchange in order to connect to and learn from each other's histories.
No blacks became white and no whites became black.
Oral history is a method of documenting history through the personal stories of those who lived it. Through interviews with activists in both countries, this oral history project gives us a unique perspective on the history of race that could not be gained from textbooks alone. This process helps students to better understand history and how it relates to contemporary issues in their own communities as they connect to people with different backgrounds and from different generations. Jesse and 5 other South African students traveled to San Francisco to join their counterparts in California for a study of the history of race.
There's something about talking to someone who was involved, who was there, and you get a very different perspective of it. Often, a lot of things you just wouldn't have considered otherwise that you have to take into account because you're getting a very personal account. It's hot in Marin County, but cold in San Francisco, for whatever reason. So, I gotta kind of pack everything I own.
Very, very sunny. I just see like palm trees and sun and beach. I'm learning every day, and I'm learning from the people that I'm surrounded with. I mean, I'm the youngest out of everyone, so it's kind of terrifying because everybody's just so intellectual, and I'm still learning and everything, but I'm putting all that I can into it. It's going to take 18 hours to go from Joburg to San Francisco, and we're stopping off in Dakar.
At San Francisco International Airport, the California team is excited to meet their South African team members who are visiting San Francisco for the first time. For most, it is their first trip outside of South Africa.
Welcome back to Living Room. I'm Kevin Cartwright. The discussion of race continues to be a very difficult thing for people to talk about for whatever reason.
In order to prepare for their interviews, these 12 students take part in an oral history workshop at the University of San Francisco, which is working in partnership with San Francisco State University.
It's one of the things that sets oral history interviewing apart from other forms.
Here, they are taught interviewing skills that they can use when they team up to do their interviews. These skills help them to elicit stories waiting to be discovered.
Tell me what you remember most about your hometown. Notice that is not something that could be answered very quickly, right?
In addition to developing their interviewing skills, the students seek to develop their understanding of the civil rights movement through research at the Martin Luther King Institute at Stanford University. Jasmine Sudarkasa from South Africa and Alex Slezarev from the United States pair up to conduct an oral history interview of the Institute's director, Dr. Claiborne Carson.
Do you feel like your journey towards civil rights reconciliation and awareness is over now?
Oh, no. No, not by a long shot. I think the real question is what are the movements of the 21st century? And what kind of social justice issues are going to grab your generation? So I think that my job is to kind of pass on the torch to a new generation.
The Martin Luther King Institute provides the students with primary resource materials about the civil rights movement in the United States. This helps them conceptualize questions for their next interview with a fellow of the Institute, Clarence B. Jones.
He was a rich man, he had a sports car, he had a beautiful house.
Do you want Clarence?
Yes, and he wouldn't get involved. And this is not what they want, and he kind of guilted him into joining the movement like that, and he became King's right-hand man.
Clarence Jones was Dr. Martin Luther King's personal lawyer and friend. His insights about Dr. King provided much-needed perspective about the civil rights movement and the individual challenges many activists faced as they took small steps to create big changes in a racially biased society.
We haven't had a congressional focused attention on the question of the reconciliation of America after the institution of slavery and after segregation. We haven't had the Congress of the United States declare this to be a national governmental priority, as the government of South Africa did.
What I like to ask
the Oral History Project takes Maneo Mohale and Nicole Brisbois to Indian Canyon just outside the town of Hollister in Central California.
Any spoken word that is sacred to our ancestors. Pita Kanama, Sikampation, Hatokanoso, Sotokanoso.
I would like to thank the ancestors for the opportunities we've had today to get to know each other.
I'd like to thank the ancestors for my past. I'd like to thank the ancestors for this present opportunity. And I'd like to thank the ancestors for the future.
Here, Anne-Marie Sayers, an elder of the Ohlone Indians, is creating a retreat where Native Americans and others can rediscover their spirituality. The struggle of Native Americans is often neglected, but when Anne-Marie relates her story, their legacy lives on.
I feel as though I am like a kindling gatherer. And it's the kindling that makes the fire, and fire is the spirit. And when I see people actually connect with the life that surrounds them, with the ancestral beings that are present spiritually, for me it's a reason for living.
Two weeks and 6 interviews later, the students need time to reflect and to make sense of what they have learned. There is perhaps no better place to do this than at the Museum of the African Diaspora, a new museum in San Francisco that helps students to explore both African American and African perspectives on history.
I've probably had a more brilliant social experience over the last 2 weeks than I did over the last 4 years I was in high school.
I discovered, or I learned, that sometimes it's better for me to just listen to what someone has to say rather than focusing on myself.
What I learned about myself is that I have the ability to connect with someone that is in so many ways, so different from me, and see the similarities that we share, and also appreciate the differences that we have.
Inspired by the people who shared their stories with them, these students have challenged their attitudes about race and examined movements for social change in which individuals of all races have come together to effect change. They realize that if they want to change their communities, they need to put what they have learned into action. Through this oral history project, an older generation shares their stories, thereby giving the next generation a good place to start, making these students actors in rather than consumers of history.